You plan to retire at 62. The layoff came at 60. In the next 6 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what an 18-month income gap costs and the one account you build now that absorbs it without touching your 401k. The answer isn't a side hustle. It's a withdrawal order most people get backwards in the first month and never recover from. Here is the part nobody tells you about retirement. You don't get to choose when work stops. It could be layoffs at 60, a diagnosis at 58, or a parent who needs you full time. The exit comes early, and the calendar between your last paycheck and your first Social Security check stretches out, sometimes 18 months, sometimes longer. Right now, more than a third of job seekers over 55 stay unemployed for over 6 months. That isn't a side risk. That is the base rate. Let's run the actual numbers. You earn $180,000 a year. After tax, that is roughly $10,000 a month landing in your checking. You assume retirement is 24 months out. Then the call comes at 60. You get 4 months of severance and 6 months of unemployment. That covers generously $40,000, but you need to replace 18 months of net income. That is $180,000 gross of the taxes you still owe on whatever you pull. After severance and UI, the gap is roughly $140,000. Most people fill that gap from the wrong place. They tap the 401k because it is the biggest pile. Here is what that actually costs. You are 60. You pull $140,000 from your 401k. Federal tax is about 22% in your bracket. Add state, you net somewhere around $96,000. To put $140,000 in your pocket, you would have to pull closer to $200,000, and the shares you sold to do it are permanently gone from the next 20 years of compounding. If the market is down 18% the year you sell, which happened in 2022, those shares do not come back. You bought high, you sold low, and you funded 18 months of grocery bills with 20 years of growth. That is not bad timing. That is the wrong account. This is where the bridge account comes in. The bridge account is not a special product. It is a cash plus brokerage pool you fund over the 5 years before retirement, sized to cover roughly 18 months of essential spending. The first 6 months sits in cash, the next 12 sits in a taxable brokerage. You drain it in a fixed order, which I call the Drawdown Order. Cash first, then brokerage, then the rule of 55 if you separated from your employer in the year you turned 55 or later. The 401k keeps compounding through the entire gap. 3 ways this lands. Scenario 1 is the unplanned bridge. You are 60 with $400,000 in your 401k and $20,000 in savings. The layoff hits. You pull from the 401k because that's where the money is. After taxes in a down market, you give up roughly $180,000 in lifetime value to cover $140,000 of expenses. Your 401k at 65 ends up around $390,000 instead of $580,000. Same effort, different account choice. Scenario 2 is the funded bridge. You are 60 with $400,000 in the 401k, and you spent the last 5 years building a $90,000 bridge account. $30,000 in cash, $60,000 in a taxable brokerage. The layoff hits. Cash covers the first 6 months while you negotiate severance and apply for unemployment. Brokerage covers month 7 through 18. You sell only what is gained at long-term rates, paying 15% federal capital gains instead of 22% ordinary income. The 401k does not move. At 65, you have $580,000 in the same 18 months of relief. Scenario 3 is the half bridge. You are 60 with $400,000 in the 401k and $40,000 saved. You burn the $40,000, then you trigger the rule of 55, which lets you pull from your most recent employer's 401k without the 10% early withdrawal penalty, as long as you separated in the year you turned 55 or later. You still owe income tax, but the penalty is gone. It is not the funded path, but it is not the worst path either. Same person, same gap, different math. 2 things make 2026 harder than 2016. One is health insurance. Your employer was paying about 74% of your family premium. The day you separate, Cobra reveals the full sticker price. The average family premium is now around $24,000 a year. 18 months of full Cobra runs you close to $36,000 before you have spent a dollar on groceries. The marketplace is sometimes cheaper, especially with subsidies based on lower retirement year income, but you have to know to compare before you take a withdrawal that spikes your taxable income. 2 is sequence of returns risk. The first 5 years of withdrawals do the most damage to a portfolio. A 30% drop in year 1 of a forced bridge withdrawn from the 401k takes 10 years to recover, sometimes more. The bridge account exists specifically to absorb that first hit, so the long money never has to. That is not bad luck. That is the structure. 3 takeaways. 1. 18 months of forced income gap is a real risk, not a fringe case. Plan for it the way you plan for anything else. 2. Build the bridge account, cash plus taxable brokerage, sized to roughly 18 months of essential spending. Fund it across the last 5 years before your target retirement date. 3. Know the drawdown order before you need it. Cash, then brokerage, then rule of 55, then and only then the traditional 401k. Tonight, pull up one statement. Add cash plus taxable brokerage. Subtract 18 months of essential expenses. The number you see is your gap. That number is the assignment. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more simple explanations.